Today we have Chrissy on, and you are just like incredible. And we met in Costa Rica. As I'm sure you guys have heard, I've had a lot of these girls on because they're just honestly, these are such amazing, inspirational women. And I just really wanted to highlight them and all of their beautiful attributes. But you stood out to me because, oh my gosh, like you have a totally different approach, I feel like, with skin and your journey and everything you've been through. And then I almost take like your whole vibe as this high-end boutique hotel. You know what I mean? That you walk in and it's like mom and pop vibes, but luxury, like the Ritz. Do you feel what I'm saying?
It's
That's
funny.
kind of the vibe I've gotten from you.
No, I mean, I love that. I actually worked for the Ritz-Carlton Spa for like a good 6 years. So when I traveled around as an esthetician, so I did take a lot of those, a lot of these things that I've learned there and then combined it with what I wanted to do and made it a little, I guess, holistic, but intuitive, but also luxury. So I kind of combined all three together and created my treatments that way.
I love that. Well, you're totally killing it because that is the vibe I get whenever I look at your
Oh,
videos,
I
whenever
love
I
it.
look at your
Thank you.
content, all the things. Yes, that's the vibe I'm getting. I'm like, okay, high end, like Ritz, but like mom and pop, not just like you see these people constantly. And yeah. And your story is beautiful. I mean, and I just love if you guys are not following her on Instagram, I'll leave everything linked in the show notes below. But I just love seeing you're always in your garden, you're with your animals, you're eating clean. I can tell you've completely like focused on basically like a 360 view whenever it comes to skin.
Absolutely. The garden was a quarantine project basically, but it opened up a door to so many things because I was going through cancer at the time and I was eating beyond meat. I was eating all the shit that back then I thought was healthy. And then once it came out with the seed oils and all this, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to radiation while like hoovering down like a Beyond Meat burger. And I'm like, that was so counterintuitive. But it did open up, it was very eye opening. The experience was eye opening.
I bet. Well, and so how long have you been in the aesthetic industry? A while, right?
Yeah, I think about 22 years. So it's been quite some time. And
Amazing.
I started with hotel spas because back then you really didn't get a lot of product education. There was like the Dermalogical Institute where you could take some free classes, but it wasn't, a lot of these products weren't even out yet that are very mainstream now. So that was my really opportunity to learn, get product knowledge, treatment. So that's where I started. And I wanted to travel around. I wanted to move in different, live in different cities. So it kind of helped me to do that as well.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah, because you really got to experiment. And I bet just because I've lived in a couple different states being an esthetician, it's kind of fun because your demographic changes, right? So you work with different issues and different skin types and skin tones. And it's kind of fun. I feel like it makes you better as an esthetician as well.
It totally does. It totally does.
When did you go off on your own? Tell us a little bit about that journey.
So I was working for like a little small medical boutique in Solana Beach in San Diego. And then obviously everything shut down. And at that point, I was assuming I'd be going back and I was just going to be working. But I thought in my mind, I was like, I'm like, when you work for somebody else, you're just making a small cut of what you're really doing, but you're doing all the work. And that was when Solas salons popped up, all these like private suites you could rent popped up. And I was like, I really think that I need to go out on my own. It was just a gut instinct. And so I started it from then and I was like, why didn't I do this sooner? Why didn't I do this sooner? And I had the clientele. And I think that's a main thing is yes, you can build, but it's almost nice to kind of start somewhere, get your footing, get your grounding, build clientele. And then once I moved, I didn't really contact those clients because I didn't want to be inappropriate to my former employer. But at the same time, they all found me on Instagram and it just referrals and then it started happening.
Right. I mean, if you built a relationship with someone and you're the one that's one on one with them, their loyalty usually lies with you, but I totally understand that, being respectful. And it's like, if they choose to reach out to you, I mean, that's a testament to you and your work.
Absolutely.
So, how long have you been in your current space?
I'll be going on 4 years in my current space.
That's
Wait, is that
amazing.
right? 20, maybe 5 years then, because it was right at 20. No, 4, because we were all shut down for a year. So like 4 years in
Yeah.
July.
Yeah, I was going to say the West Coast was really shut down for everything.
Yeah.
And then, if you're okay with it, tell us a little bit about your cancer journey and everything. I mean, I know you brought that up a little bit, but I know that that almost has really changed the way that you look at skin, the way you look at health, and how you treat everything overall.
Absolutely. It's interesting. They say it starts 10 years before, that you'll feel a lump or anything like that. And I do remember 10 years prior, I was not living like a healthy lifestyle. I think mentally I was struggling a little bit to find out, who I was, what was going on. I wasn't eating clean. Once I found that lump, and I had implants at the time, and I honestly, my brain immediately went to, it's scar tissue, it can't be that, it's not that. And we biopsied it, and it was that. And then I went to UCSD, which is a great hospital here, and they were scanning everything, of course, and they found also a lymph node. So the radiologist at the time had called me and said, "Hey, you have a lymph node in there that's positive." And I said, "Okay." And they weren't really explaining to me what any of this meant, because I was going to all of these appointments on my own because no one was allowed to go with you. So there's just a plethora of information that you have maybe 20 minutes with your physician, maybe max, trying to ask questions. And then there's like a million questions after, right? So he calls me back after and says, you actually have 3 positive lymph nodes. And I was like, okay, how can you tell? Because it's just a scan, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we scheduled the surgery. My medical oncologist, or my surgical oncologist, was great. She came down after surgery and she's like, you had, well, let me backtrack. You have a medical oncologist and you have a surgical oncologist. Now, my medical oncologist was pushing chemo before and after treatment, after my surgery, and my gut was just not there. And it's a personal decision, to each their own, but I just know, I'm not into killing everything in my body. It's just not in that space. So I declined it. And when I tell you, she was literally like begging me to do it. And I said no. And she said, well, will you at least do radiation? And I'm like, I'll do radiation just on the breast, but that's it. But they didn't tell me any side effects. They didn't tell me anything to be prepared for. Nothing. They were just, great, let's schedule you for that. So after surgery, my first surgery, my surgeon came down, my different oncologist, and she said, you were right to decline chemo because you had way less cancer than what the scan showed. It shows you have something, but it doesn't show you how much until they get in there. So I only had 1 positive lymph node, and my tumor was pretty small on my breast. So she removed that, and then she ended up taking out 21 lymph nodes in my underarm, because she said that one was clumped in with a whole bunch of other ones. But looking back, I think that they tend to overdo it just to make sure they don't have to go back in. So then I was set for radiation, which was 5 weeks, 5 days a week. And I actually felt pretty good after that. I was taking, black seed oil. I was doing everything I could to kind of flush that radiation out of my body. And then the effects of radiation set in, meaning it permanently damages your tissue, permanently. Like, there's no regenerating. They didn't tell me any of this. I would have rethought that had they told me all of this, but it's interesting, because my whole thought when they were telling me about chemo and everything, I was thinking, listen, at the end of the day, I have to come home and be okay with my decision, and I have to live with that decision. So I got as much information as I could, and I based my choice off of that. So even in the future, God forbid anything else happens, I know I made the right decision in that moment. And I encourage other people to, because they can get pushy, to push treatment a lot of the times. And some people absolutely need it. I'm not, this is just speaking for me. But I'm happy with the decision I made, because I have to live with it. I have to live with being like, am I being forced into this? And then coming home being like, I kind of wish I didn't do it. I didn't want to feel like that. I did that. And then what was interesting after that was, after about a year, and they radiated me with my implant still in. And it clicked. I'm like, radiation's a lot of heat. You basically burn the the inside out. And I'm like, oh, there's plastic in there. So I wanted to check the integrity of the implants. I'd had them in for a while and it had ruptured and the silicone had been leaking into my muscle, just right up in here for quite some time. And so I had to have another surgery to get them completely taken out. She goes, we had to just clean everything out. We'll revisit in 6 months. So we did that. And then in 6 months, it was like my breast just started to, this one that was treated started to shrivel up. And so it was almost like concave because I had that pocket from the implant, whereas the other one was fine. And that was tough to like, and it's not vanity, but it was really hard to look in the mirror and be like, this, it just felt very deformed. So I ended up putting them back in, but I took a few years just to kind of see if that's what I really wanted to do. And I felt like, I really just wanted to have more of a feminine shape. So I ended up putting them back in, but I do regular checkups, but I'm very skeptical with my medical oncologist. She tends to be very pushy. She'll come in with papers and graphs and studies. And that's when I ask her, like, when was a study done? How many people was it done on? What was their lifestyle like? And she told me it was done 20 years prior and it was a select group of people and they didn't really check on their nutrition, but they're telling me to take medication and block my estrogen and all of this. And I'm thinking, this is throwing me all out of balance. Like my hormones to be in balance seems better to me than to be all out of balance. So it's been a bit of a journey. And when I look back, I realize I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I did all of that. It just, you go day by day, I guess. But it made me realize that life absolutely is precious. And, what I put in my body, and not just that, but my thoughts that are going through my head, any anger issues I have, any trauma from childhood, those needed to be addressed too, because it all plays a role in your body. I mean, everything is connected.
100%. I mean, first off, I'm so proud of you for being an advocate for yourself. You know what I mean? I mean, I haven't been in that situation, but I've been in others where it's challenging. I mean, because at the end of the day, this is no disrespect to physicians, but, they only see you, like you said, for maybe 20 minutes. And maybe that was the first time you met him or her too, maybe like second or third time even. And it's a hard decision, to make. And thank you, for sharing your story with us. So are you at a place where are you clear? Do you feel like you're doing okay? Everything's good?
Yeah, I feel clear. I feel good. It's always in the back of my mind that possibly, and that's primarily because my medical oncologist, she was like, well, one cell could escape. And I'm like, we have cells all over our body. It's not the cell, it's how your body will treat the cell and how is your immune system? How's your gut? How's all of these other things that are making it so that it doesn't expand into anything else? That is something she doesn't touch on. The nutritional aspect, and again, no shade to doctors because there's a lot of amazing ones out there, but the nutritional aspect that they learn, they don't seem to see the connection a lot of times, which is crazy to me. But I always made sure that I was making the right decision for myself that I could live with at the end of the
No.
day.
Well, I mean, and just to speak from someone that went to college for nutrition, like it's changed so much, right? Like even whenever I went to school almost 10 years ago, what is being taught now is completely different because back then, like you said, it was vegan was best. It was fruit was an enemy. It was sugar, horrible for you. There was the fear about bananas, bulletproof coffee. You know what I mean? I think there's so much, it's changed so much throughout the years. And also we have to think about how much, they're taught basically not to fix something, right? They're taught to treat a disease. So that's something I have to tell people with blood work. It's like, even with blood work, like people are like, well, my blood work says it's fine. I'm like, yeah, well, the blood work's going to tell you when something's actually really, really wrong. That's why we have a Dutch test. That's why we have hair scans. That's why we have, other things, or even just to detox our body, because our body is unfortunately thrown with all these different things. And like you said, kind of doing the Beyond Meat, I did that for a while too. And then I flipped over the bag one day and I'm like,
Yeah,
oh my gosh, I've
I
been putting
know.
this into my body. Like
It
it
was
was
shocking to
just,
see all the
yes.
seed oils. And I was like, athletes are endorsing this. And I'm like, and they're not anymore,
Mhm.
but I was like, wow, it's insane. But yeah, I flipped over the bag one day and I was like, holy crap, like this is awful. this is awful.
Did
So
you see a difference in your skin? And did you find anything that really helped you that you felt like helped your journey during radiation and then also after?
so during radiation, my main goal was to flush it out of my system as soon as possible. So what I would do is, and my mom, bless her heart, we would meet about 30 minutes away from the hospital, and every morning she'd meet me there at 7 a.m. and we would walk 30 minutes too. And it only took about 5 minutes to do the treatment in itself. And then we'd walk back just to get my body moving. I took black seed oil because it does help to flush radiation out of the body. Absolutely cleaned up my diet. I ate a lot of fresh fruit, vegetables, and of course I added, we found a really good organic farm that's local where we buy our meat from. And that's the only meat that I'll eat. And our chickens, I eat their eggs, you know. So I changed a lot. I added a lot more protein in, and I think that gave me, my body has completely changed. My muscle composition has elevated. Whereas before I was working out 5 days a week, 6 days a week, but not seeing any difference. It was just kind of like skinny soft. So I feel stronger now. I think mentally, physically, and it's in a good place, you know?
It's amazing. And I mean, you look great for those of you that are just seeing audio. Like, she looks incredible. You look great. Like, you would have never known that you went through this traumatic health experience, you know? And I have, you know, clients that go through radiation and go through chemo. And it is sad because I do feel like it does change the skin at times, you know, completely overall. And, you know, there's only so much that I feel like we can do, right? Because their skin responds differently, because we all do. Is there any skincare tips or anything that you would recommend for
So I
anyone if they're
did.
going through that?
Yeah, I did. There's a breast massage oil that is a detoxifying oil from Living Libations. They also sell the sea buckthorn that was very popular with Noise Skincare, and that's where I kind of hopped on it. We were chatting a bit about it. And I used that massage oil, and I was very conscious too about what I put on my body. So for a while there, I was like, okay, let me find the least chemical, so to speak, that was toxic. So I was using a lot of just natural oils on my body for hydration. As far as skincare goes, I started adding in like retinol, of course, using Environ, which I love. I was looking just, I mean, my skincare definitely elevated a little bit when I brought on Environ, and then Civ came out, which has been a game changer as well. But the breast massage oil from Living Libations, just in general, because of all the lymph nodes we have in that area, and whether we know it or not, it absorbs. I mean, our skin's an organ. And what I also found out was I was spray tanning a lot just for some color. And I was noticing that the days I would spray tan, I'm like, oh, I'm getting headaches. I'm not feeling so good. So I asked the girl, I was like, what's this about? And she said, oh, you know, to get that color, they put red 40 in the spray tan. And I was like, so I'm basically, it's all over my body. And no wonder I feel awful after it. I mean, I love the color, but I had to switch and find more of an organic brand or an organic spray, because I definitely like to have a little color. But that made a big difference. I mean, now I'm checking all ingredients, no matter what it is, because you never know. I mean, having that dose of red 40 in your body, it absolutely, I felt it for sure.
Well, and I feel like whenever you make the decision to start eliminating things, the less you have of it, the more sensitive you become to it. And I don't know if it's because we're more aware, or we were so like bugged down where almost like our barrel was full. And so it was just tipping over, you know, where it was like, okay, and now if there's just a little bit, we're like, okay, we don't, you know what I mean? Like, we have nothing to do with that. Like, you know, I had a woman that walked past me in the grocery store, and she definitely had like a good amount of perfume on. And my whole house, I've gotten it to where it's like, if we do have anything, it's pretty natural. Or, you know, I just like open the windows, let everything be itself. And gosh, even that, like the fragrances, like I had a headache, like you said, I almost felt a little nauseous. And it's just crazy. You know, I feel like people don't understand how much that stuff really does affect us.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't like candles in my home anymore, and I was the candle freak before.
Same.
So, and now I'm like, I do. I open the windows, I just let the fresh air in, I get some fresh flowers. But candles are lovely, but if I do a candle, I'm so specific. And even then, I'm like, let me just make sure, because there's so much toxic, even down to the wick, you know? But your girl loves some candles, but like I had to really slim it down. So there's literally no candles in the house right now. But you know, the windows being open, that fresh air is more invigorating to me than the scent of a candle.
Yeah. So I know you spoke on Environ a little bit. Can you tell us like a little bit about the line, some of your favorites, how you use them in the treatment room, all the things?
I do. So I love Environ. It's a clinical line, but what I love about them, they're based in South Africa, but what I love is that they have these cool peels. So it doesn't generate heat within the skin. So if you're suffering from melasma, you're a darker Fitzpatrick, anyone can really use it, even the most sensitive skin, and the results are beautiful. And I love that it's not giving heat into the skin, causing any sort of flare up of melasma or hypopigmentation for if you're doing a stronger peel. So those are some of my favorites. The lactic and the TCA, their vitamin C peel is amazing. One of my favorites is their colostrum serum. It just is lovely, hydrates the skin. They also have a dual filler serum that just gives you a little plumping in certain spots. My other product that I've been obsessed with lately is Adipo, the volumizing cream.
Oh,
Love
yes,
it.
I started
Love it.
trying that. I'm
Yeah.
obsessed with it.
Yes. It's
Okay,
amazing.
question. Do you do it after all your skincare? Because that's what I've been doing. I've been doing it after all of it, and then I like leave it on almost like a little face mask in some spots, and then I pat it, right? Is that
So,
correct?
yeah, I do both. So in the
Okay.
morning, sometimes I'm a slow riser, so I'll wake up and I'll read in the morning. So I will put it on fresh skin and just let it sit and then massage it in and go on with my routine. And then at night, I layer it as the last thing I put on my skin. And it just, I feel like I'm on my second tube and I feel like I definitely see a bit of a difference, like cheeks, temples, around the eyes. So I'm loving it. I
Yeah,
went
and
through the body gel like too quickly and I was like, oh God, I've been slathering it on. But I had a call with Kelly the other day from the retreat and she goes, oh, you only put it on certain spots. I'm like, that's everywhere though. I want it everywhere. I
I
want to
know,
bathe in it.
right? You're gonna have to try if you haven't tried Epicutis's lipid body serum. Oh my gosh,
Oh, I
it's
haven't.
incredible because that one helps prevent like crepey skin or helps heal crepey. So you could put that on everywhere and then do the volume cream in some spots. Again, I can always send you one, but it's
Is
that.
it similar
It's
to the face, the lipid for the face?
Yes, but it's thinner. Like it's thin and it's kind of got a lotion consistency, but I like it
Okay.
because I can put it on my hands. I do it on like my hands, my elbows, my knees every night. And so it's thin enough where which you have animals, so I know you get it. I'm not like clinging to cat hair
Yeah. Yeah.
or
Like
my cats
dog
aren't
hair.
trying to
It's
lick
like
it
you're
off.
like, where's that hair? I can't
I
find it.
know.
It's
Yeah,
sticky.
yeah, because that's the one thing whenever you come off and you're like a total like grease,
Yeah.
glazed donut, and then,
Yeah.
a pet hair is like all over you. But it's nice. It absorbs really, really well. So, and it feels good. It doesn't feel heavy.
That's what I love. And the other thing with Environ is their body duo, the Dermalac and the ACE body oil. I mean, Dermalac is like a lactic acid for the body, so the skin just softens and it's a lotions, but it's a liquid. And then the ACE oil right on top, and it soaks in. It's amazing. Amazing. That is probably by far one of my favorites from them.
Beautiful. I know I have been dabbling in with that line. Do you have any more that you're like cannot live without it or any fan favorites that your clients love?
So my clients love all the AVST moisturizers, and what I like is there's a progression. So you can start at a 1 and it goes up to 5. It has vitamin A, C, and E, but the beta carotene, the plant version. But then there's the sequence serum, which I'm on. I'm on number 4, and that is retinaldehyde, retinol palmitate. So it's much easier for the skin to absorb and use for the vitamin A benefits. There's no retinoic reaction. And I combine that with their defense cream, and then I layer on the Anfisa balm on top and just saturate basically my whole face.
That sounds beautiful, though. I know that's a beautiful product, honestly. And I love that they're kind of made where you can mix them together, like you said.
Absolutely. They
Yeah.
play very well with one another. So if you use a few things from Environ and you're like, I'm going to pump, pump, pump and cocktail it all, it still works. It still works great. So for time, for people who are like, have kids or just don't have a lot of time or don't want to spend a lot of time, it's great.
That's nice because a lot of lines, like I've worked with Zio before in the past, and they're very particular where they're like, you have to do this here and this goes here. And if it doesn't go in this spot, you're basically messing it up. And I'm like, yeah, but that's a lot for people to remember, And kind of like you said, I kind of eliminated Zio because they had a lot of fillers and fragrances and things in their routine. And so that's just not something I found that I need. I have so many people with reactive skin or so many women that are going through fertility issues or, menopause. And they're like, we just don't need it. So is that one of the reasons why you picked some of the lines that you did?
Yeah, I picked lines that because I was really tired of hearing people say, well, I went to an esthetician, but I had to get this whole regimen from the same skincare line. And I'm like, no, like I cherry pick what I love and they all need to work together. So it is one of the main reasons that I've chosen Viren. It just works beautifully and it elevates. So if you're like, okay, I'm plateauing a little bit, I'm not seeing the glow as I used to, you can move up a level, or you can add in a retinol, a true retinol, or they have an oil capsule that's in a retinol in an oil form, which is beautiful as well. So there's just got some amazing products to play with. And you can also use, if you're using Skin Medica, if you're using any other lines, you can marry them all together and it should work pretty well.
Well, and they are, correct me if I'm wrong, they uphold European standards too. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yeah.
Which is nice because if you guys are not familiar, our listeners, basically, I mean, Europe has banned it. I think it's well over 100 ingredients. And the US, I think we're on maybe 18 tops.
Yeah.
I know it's less than 20. And some people kind of are like, maybe, that's a good thing. Maybe it's a bad thing. I honestly think we could have more regulation into a lot of things. I think we're a country where, I mean, kind of like we were talking about Beyond Meat, right? We're a country, I feel like we're more reactive versus being preventative with things. We're more like, oh, okay, that didn't work, so stop promoting it. Seed oils are bad, guys. We figured it out, versus being like, hey, like, have we done the research? Have we looked in the science behind something? So I'm really looking forward to more and more brands being more focused on that. So
100% agree.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about your facials. Like, to walk us through, like, if someone were to come in and see you, like, you have the most beautiful, like, sculpting facial massage. I feel like you gotta walk us through your whole experience and, walk us through a facial.
I love it. So all of my facials include a dermaplane, which is optional, but I highly recommend it. I definitely have the lighting. I'm very big on lighting, so the lighting needs to be chill. I change a playlist so that the playlist really kind of takes them on a journey a lot of times. But we double cleanse, we do a dermaplane. I will do a cool peel depending on their skin tone, whether it be a 2.5% TCA cream, 5%, or a lactic. Sometimes I'll do an enzyme if their skin is super sensitive, but with their Environ Cool Peels, everyone's pretty much great with it. And then after I'm doing that, a little extractions if necessary, and then I get into this massage and I go in there. Like I open up the neck, I open up the jaw, the muscles. I almost in a sense get into a zone and a flow where I'm like feeling for tension in their face. And I can see them react if something's a little more tense on one side than the other. I can see if something's a little uneven. A lot of times we hold fluid under the eyes. We hold so much tension in the jaw if they clench their teeth. So I will do a good 25-30 minute facial massage in most of my facials. And at the end, I cool them down with either a cool mask, the CO2 lift mask, that, or I have a hydrogel mask or a sheet mask sometimes that has some stem cells in it, and then definitely LED just to kind of put it all together. And in that time, I'll massage their arms, their hands, get in there to make sure that we're releasing tension from holding our phones all the time, leg compressions. So I really try to feel their vibe and then kind of flow in that. And I can tell if my client is stressed, if there's something they need to let go of. And I literally am silent unless they chat with me. I'm literally like, this is something that you just need to let go. And sometimes I'll have clients that will want to talk through the whole facial. And I'm like, you need this the most. Like, you need to be quiet so I can do what I do, and you can just excuse my language, let the fuck go. let go of everything, and it's amazing to see them when they walk in, as when they leave, it's like they've left their weight, whatever
Yeah.
emotional weight. And it's a beautiful thing to see.
You took them on almost like a little spiritual journey, if you
I
will.
try. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's
really my goal.
beautiful. That's beautiful. I love that you do the cool peel before extractions too. So you're
Mhm.
doing that, it preps the skin, gets everything ready, and then you're able to do all of your extractions. And you don't do a lot of machines, right? You're more like with your hands.
Yeah, I mainly work with my hands. I do have a microcurrent, which I do sometimes. I have the Zac, which has a little radio frequency LED. The radio frequency on there is probably pretty low because it is, I think, so anyone can buy it, but it feels nice on the skin. But I focus mainly on my hands. I feel like the pressure and just your hands in general can just do so much more. And then there's that connection, which I think what I noticed a lot on the retreat is that we didn't really have our phones all the time. We weren't like texting. We were a little here and there on downtime, but there was the connection that was there. And that got me thinking like, man, we are losing so much connection from person to person. Everything's rushed. Everything's like, let me do this, let me appointment this. I have to go here. I have to pick up my kids. I have to do this. It's a time to slow down and just have that human touch, which I think during the pandemic was highly neglected, And it means
Well,
so much.
yes. And, I saw the other day, this might be a little off topic, but I promise it's going to come back. Where one of my clients posted she got a robot massage. Yeah. And one of her biggest feedback, which she said, there is something so special about having a human's touch. And I agree with that. And I feel like we as a society, we were like, oh, I'm only corrective facials, I'm only result driven. And that, quite frankly, always kind of pissed me off because I'm like, we can be result driven without using a bunch of different modalities. You can do those things. And I, quite frankly, have always admired people that don't necessarily have all those tools in their toolbox and they're still getting beautiful results because that means they truly have mastered skin. They've mastered skin as an organ, where they don't have to necessarily use all of these different modalities, which it's not that, lasers or anything are bad. They're wonderful, when used correctly. But I think there's something so special about rebuilding the skin and getting the skin healthy and happy, and then also creating an experience overall.
100% agree. Now in California, we can't do lasers. And if we could, I guarantee I'd probably have one for something because they give beautiful results and it's fun, especially to kind of level up a treatment. But in the meantime, like I'm pretty content. Like with what's going on. And not to say that I will never bring on a device or a machine. I think I probably will at some point for certain things. But what I think people come to me or my clients come to me specifically for that hand connection. And I always say, like, this is why massaging yourself doesn't feel as good because it's different when somebody else is putting their energy on you and really focusing on helping you just release things. If somebody cries on your facial table, it's a release and they need to let it go. And it just has to be, and the hands get you there.
Yeah, and
That
it's
sounds that sounds weird, but you know what I mean.
no, I know exactly what you mean. I mean, the relationship that we build with our clients is really, really special. And I think that's one of the reasons why I really wanted to have you, on the podcast is because I feel the exact same way where I can tell you look at your clients as people, as mother, a wife, all of these titles, and then whenever they come in, they're just there to be your person and for you to cherish and care for them. And I think that's something that is a little undervalued in our industry, and I feel like we should focus more and more on that. That is our job, is to give and to reset, to a certain extent, right?
Right. Well, I don't know about you, but I feel, and we all have clients that this may be their only time that they actually are feel taken care of, like physically, emotionally, that they feel nurtured. And that is such a huge important thing in life to feel nurtured. And starting from when we're little, I mean, a lot of us weren't nurtured and some were, and that's beautiful. But it's such a major thing. It really is, just to let them be who they are. And I have had clients that I've had, they've had babies, they've had marriages, they've had divorces, they've had deaths, they've let go of things on my table, and it's a safe space for them to do that, which I think is really the point.
No, I agree with you completely. And I think you've done a lot of, of your own internal work to get to that place. Do you have any advice for someone that, is still kind of trying to figure out their way? Is there any, like, I guess, meditations or any, rituals that you do on a daily basis to be able to give that kind of energetic work to your clients every day?
So I make sure that I definitely, and my thing is I'll go to a hot yoga class and I will sweat and detox. I will make my nighttime shower or bath routine a ritual, because it is my time, and it's a nice shift. It's an interesting shift that happens when you start to take care of yourself a little bit and do little things just for you, not to post photos, not to whatever, but just to make yourself feel good because it feels good. And I know that not everyone has the time sometimes, especially in the evening if they have little kids or anything like that. But what I have found is in the morning, I get my, I've been doing mango since the retreat every morning because I'm like obsessed now. But I'll have that. I'll have my coffee with raw milk, a little maple syrup, and I go and I sit back in bed with the dogs and I read whatever book I choose to. And that is for like a good hour. I don't even look at my phone. I'm just like, this is my time before the day starts. And the days that I do look at my phone, my day is kind of chopped. It's choppy. The days that I sit, which is most of them, and read first and take some time to reflect, the day flows very smoothly. My intentions are there. What I want to have happen in the day happens usually. So I make sure I definitely move my body. Like, first and foremost, moving my body helps to move the fluid around. You just stretch in the morning. It's been a game changer, to be honest. As you know, we sit a lot of the times or stand in facials, we're moving around our backs, this and that. But to move the body, it just makes you feel good in general. Getting outside in nature in the garden, to me, that is my meditation. It's hard for me to sit and meditate. I've really tried. And I will do it sometimes, but a lot of times I will just go out there by myself and sit and listen to the birds and take care of the animals and trim back some of the plants and pick the fruit and vegetables. That to me is like I'm connecting with nature. My hands are in the soil. I'm grounding. I think those are crucial things, but everyone has to find their thing. But I highly recommend moving the body, whatever that may be. Taking a walk at sunset, even 10 minutes, just get outside, get some fresh air.
It is beautiful. I agree. I've been really intentional about my mornings where I like wake up, I do a double cleanse, I do my red light therapy, and then I read or, I take time, and I started where I do my Hatch alarm clock where my phones now are outside of the bedroom.
Yes.
And that is an absolute game changer.
The Hatch has like changed my life. Like you wake up to this, like, bless you.
Thank you. Sorry, I felt it. I'm like, it's going to come any moment now. Anyways, please continue.
The Hatch is like, waking up to just soft music and a very gentle light that's like I'm like, I barely hear it, but you wake up and you're not waking up to this crazy alarm,
Where you're in like a fight or flight response. You're like,
Yeah.
wait, it's time. My husband still listens to like this like rock music. And I'm like, oh my gosh, please turn that off. But it's okay.
Throwing off the vibe, sir.
I know, right? You're like, that is not the way we're starting the day.
Absolutely not.
Well, I mean, your skin looks incredible. Can you tell us like a little bit about like things that you focus on? What's your rituals and like things that you're like maybe like your top products or even tools that you're like, I cannot live without these?
Yeah, so obviously I do my double cleanse, and right now I'm doing the refining, is it the refining pore cleanser from Skin Better, the foamy one? Okay. Love that one. And then my second cleanse, I usually do the warming honey cleanser from Is Clinical, just because texture is a thing for me. I haven't done many lasers. My skin reacts a little tricky to lasers, but again, that could be the provider that did them at the time. So I do that, and then I definitely use the Adipo. I use my retinol. I exfoliate a couple times a week. I do my microchanneling. I try to do once a month just for collagen stimulation. And then my LED, of course. And you know what I've been doing is I've actually in the morning, I will lay my LED over my stomach. And it has helped a lot with my digestion. So I'll do it sometimes over to the side where my liver is at. I'll do it the side where my spleen is at. But a lot of times I'll just have it over my stomach. And it helps a lot with just how my digestion is. It's crazy, but it definitely works.
No, it's so funny you said that because I pulled my back not that long ago and I lifted too heavy, or I did something, I tweaked it, and I haven't had my back like that in a while. And I took my Saluma and I put it on the infrared and I had it on my back and I was like, oh my gosh, that completely
Yeah.
transformed and I haven't used it really for like muscle pain or anything like that before,
It
but
works so well for that.
yeah, that was
Yeah.
incredible.
Surprisingly well. Like you're like, it's shocking what of a difference it makes. It's kind of crazy. But yeah, Saluma is my go-to for aches and pains. That is my
Yeah,
one.
that one's amazing. Yeah, and then I started moving it where now whenever we watch TV, I like put my hands under it. I'm like, let me do all the
Anywhere I can
things.
get collagen
I
stimulation,
know.
I'm like,
I'm
let me
like,
just put my
please. I'm
whole
like,
body.
stimulate collagen over my entire body. All my years of doing the tanning beds, like they're
Oh my
gonna
God.
come up to
I
get
did
me.
so many years of that. And, your skin definitely, it shows. Like my legs, there's pigmentation. I'm like, I just want to IPL my whole body. But yeah, the LED just changes. It's a game changer. And it gives you time to just like sit and like absorb and like you can close your eyes. You can listen to a meditation during that time. It just almost forces you to like just stop and be present.
For 10 to 20 minutes, I think it's worth it. Well, I always love to ask our guests, and I am so curious of what your answer is going to be. What does beauty mean to you?
I think beauty is first and foremost taking care of yourself and your body. We spend so much on products, but it's often I find that people won't go to a naturopath or get their blood work looked at and just they're feeling lethargic, they're feeling this or that, but beauty is literally inside. You can be a stunning person, but if your heart isn't in the right place or you haven't dealt with things or you're angry all the time, it will change. I feel like it will change how you look, it will change how you move, it will change everything. So beauty to me is centering yourself, is being present, is having those good relationships in your life. It doesn't need to be a ton, it doesn't need to be 20 people. It could be one, it could be your dog for all I know, but it just needs to be a genuine connection where you just feel safe and you. And anything on top of that is just icing.
That's so beautiful. During this weird time, I think you know a little bit about the stuff I'm going through where my husband and I are both home while he's looking for a job and, I'm dealing with things. And it's been obviously stressful, but I'm also just so grateful that I have a partner that I enjoy spending time with. And that I've chosen my circle to, even though it's small, it is those people, and that, they fill your cup and they make you feel special. And it's not necessarily like, oh, you need a hype girl, sometimes you got to switch and you got to be the hype girl for them. But I think there's something so beautiful about, focusing on, being around people that you can just be you. And I love that you highlighted that because it's hard at times to, find a safe space where you can walk in and you can be like, I can just be myself today. I can take off every other hat that I wear.
Yeah, it's finding that the right person. To me at this stage in my life, I'm like, if it doesn't feel right, it's not right. It's finding people that really support you, that lift you up when you're not in the room. I don't do the toxic thing. I'm like, I've never been a big gossiper. So anytime I hear someone gossip, I'm like, nope, like, absolutely not. I just don't want to be around that energy. So I think energy plays a huge role into that too. Listening to your gut. If something feels a little like, but everyone else is having fun, it's like, that's okay. You can step back and be like, this just isn't right for me. Move on and find what's right for you and find a partner specifically, especially when you spend so much time that genuinely supports you, nurtures you, when we need it. And is also tough love when you need it. Is like your BFF, but in a male version. or
Yes.
female, whatever you choose.
Yeah, whatever. Hey, whatever floats your boat, right? Love
Yeah.
is love on this.
Yes, love is love. I mean, I think my dog's probably one of my soulmates for sure, but I mean, I won't tell my man that, but he probably knows.
I know there is something so special about the bond that we get with, our animals. They're amazing and incredible. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today. This was amazing. I feel like there's so many, little inspirational tips. And just also, I want to say thank you again for sharing your story because I know that your story, even though I know it wasn't easy to necessarily talk about, it's going to help someone else. And, I think
Ah,
that's incredible.
thank you. And there's a lot more to it that I didn't go into, but it's a journey, but at the end of the day, you have to make the decision that you go home and you feel good about that decision. Period. Because you're the one that has to live with it. That's the best advice I can give. So I mean, looking back, it's been a while, and I think the brain has a way of being like, oh no, it wasn't that big of a deal. But then I'm like, yeah, it kind of was, and I got through it, and that's great. And I had great people around me, and some people fell off, and that was meant to be. So it really put things in perspective. So thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
You're so welcome. Yeah, and I agree with you. I think our brain has those, where it's like, oh, maybe it wasn't that big of a deal, but it was at the time. And at the end of the day, that's what made you who you are today. All of those hard things are what makes us to where we can appreciate where we're at now.